Welcome to episode number 3 of Real Estate Success Podcast. I'm your host, Tommy Kim, with my co-host, Cole Harvey.
What's going on, Tommy?
What's up?
All right, today on the podcast, we have Kina De Santis, who is an incredible agent who just had an insane first year in business. 54 transactions closed in 12 months. So make sure you guys smash the subscribe button below to catch all of our content. Hit that like button and please comment below and enjoy the Real Estate Success Podcast.
Enjoy. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Real Estate Success Podcast. This is your host, Tommy Kim, with my co-host, Cole Harvey. What's up, Cole?
What's going on, Tommy? How's everyone doing today?
Good. Yeah, today we have a very, very special guest, Kina De Santis. She's someone who is locally here in Orange County, but she's killing it as only like 2 years, maybe less into the business. And within first full year of doing real estate, she has tremendous amount of 54 sales, tons of experience, and building a massive team. I learned so much from her when we meet too. So I want to hash it down today. What's going on, Kina?
Hello, just here. We're in Orange at our office, surrounded by champagne.
Nice.
I like your style. I do.
Let's start drilling into. Tell our viewers about kind of like how you got started in real estate. What were you doing before, and what got you into it? About your journey.
So my background is nothing to do with like a real estate type background. My background's actually in tech, startups, venture capital. I was right before I got my real estate license, or while I got my real estate license, I was running operations at a startup company. And so I've worked with a few different startups, and I also worked in venture capital for about a year. And so it's definitely not where I thought I'd be. I just kind of ended up here.
Wow. So what gets you a thought about getting into real estate? How did you get started?
I think a lot of people get started in real estate for, I'm going to be honest, like dumb reasons, right? Like you think if I just sell one home, it could be an extra $10,000 a year. And you think like, I'm going to do that. Real estate's so easy. I'm just going to sell one home. And so that's what I thought I was going to do. Really hard worker, right? Like work can be like a real addiction. And I was working my full-time job. I got my real estate license. I was doing real estate on the weekends and after work. I was tutoring a kid for 5 days a week. And so I was like pretty much stacked with my hours. And so I was like trying to just save as much money as I could, because I knew I wanted to buy a home, and listening to like, the Bigger Pockets podcast, starting to read more real estate books. And then once I got my license, obviously I'm like, oh, I want to sell one home a year. One becomes 2, becomes 3, becomes 15, becomes 50. And then you just can't stop, right? Like then it becomes, oh, I see the path. I see the future. And that's kind of how I ended up here.
Yeah, sweet. So what was that like when you got your license? What was that transition? I know you were doing it with the full-time job, and you were doing it on the side, and you were doing one. A lot of people have that hard time of making that leap to full-time into real estate. How was that transition?
So I'm really cautious. I'm really risk averse, which is hard, right? Because when you have your real estate license, some people are like, you need to jump in and just do it. Other people are more like me, where I'm like, you know what? Keep your job and just work extra hard. If you're willing to work extra hard, you're probably that person who's going to do well in real estate, versus the person who's like, I'm going to quit and just get my license with like not a huge plan ahead, right? So basically my work was like a 10 to 6 kind of a thing. So I would be listening to Bigger Pockets, reading books in the morning, listening to podcasts all the time on my way to work, even during work, just like absorbing as much information as I could. I actually built out different calculators on Excel, so I could like plug in my own numbers and see like, okay, what does it look like if I bought this home for this much? This is what my NOI is. This is what my cap rate is. Let me like figure out if this is a good deal. And I actually still use that. It's just an Excel calculator. It's so easy. I still use it today. It's the same one that you would pay for on Bigger Pockets, but I like wanted to be able to manipulate the numbers a little bit better. Right. So I did it myself. And then it was just like, every weekend, like the second I would see an agent be like, I have an open house, who wants to work it? I would like go to the bathroom and like call them, be like, can I do the open house? The open houses for me went nowhere. I'm really particular. I think because I'm an agent where my buyers come to me and my sellers come to me versus me prospecting in like a typical sense. I am really choosy with like who I like to work with because I'm working all the time. So like basically the idea was when I was doing open houses, you don't necessarily vibe with every single person you meet. And I wasn't vibing with a lot of the people, right? It was like different kinds of crowds. I was also very nervous and I had no confidence, which is very hard. Like that's the number one most important thing. I had no real estate experience and I didn't really have a mentor or somebody I could pull knowledge from that I could talk about with these buyers. And so anyways, I wasn't super successful with those open houses, but with my friends in my network and the people that I was working with, you know, people are like, Kina's smart. She's a hard worker. I know she's a new agent, but I'm going to work with her because we trust her, right? Everyone knows a bunch of real estate agents. So it's really about like people believing in you in the beginning. And so once I had my first sale in May 2020, is when I had my first sale. I kind of figured it out. And then I got a couple of homes in escrow in June. And then it just kind of cascaded from there.
Wow.
Now, when you say you had your clients come to you, so you never did any like the traditional kind of outbound, like I guess lead generation or prospecting, correct?
I'm not good at that. I'm actually really bad at that. And so we just started farming. You know, I brought on an assistant who's really good at farming. We just started, literally today, she's like piecing together all the mailers to send out, so that we can focus on listings. Our marketing is really strong for buyers. And so that's who we get. And they're all, because we're using social media to find people, they're on a similar algorithm. And I'm very much so like myself on social media, right? So people like know what they're getting. They're not getting like I will never wear a suit to like meet a buyer. Like it could be a mansion in Beverly Hills and I will not like ever wear a suit. Like I couldn't do it because I'd be miserable. And I'm really like, I guess, fussy about that, which is a terrible thing to be if you're trying to make the most sales. But we probably do more? I don't know. Because I also think that people choose to work with us for the way that we are, right? We're a really specific kind of team. We're pretty low key. And maybe we could reach a higher price point if we weren't like that, but I don't know. But I do know that I love the people that we work with. Like every time I talk to like a buyer or seller, I'm like, oh, I love them. They're the best, you know? And it's a really nice network. We're all kind of similar. So I don't know. It's just been really nice. It's just different, you know? Could we do more sales? Probably. Or higher end? Maybe. But I have shown up to Beverly Hills showings in like a pretty similar outfit to what you see on me right now. Maybe not in my Vans, but
yeah, like what I like respect about you and what you just said is how authentic you are to you. And I think the audience can really get that. What I got from what you said was how you know, the way you set yourself and set up expectation for not only knowing yourself and, you know, identifying the ideal client. That's what a lot of agents have challenge with. But
yeah.
you seem so authentic, and I can see how, you know, the buyers and their people are getting attracted to you because of the way you present yourself. That's so huge.
Yeah, we're definitely like, I don't think I would have wanted to do as many, like we did 54 transactions last year. It would have been miserable if we were working with like 50% of the people who were like, is our agent professional enough? Like nobody ever questions us, right? Our buyers, our sellers, they don't question our ability because they're like, they mostly come up and they're like, listen, we know you're really busy. Will you work with us? Will you take us on? And I'm like, absolutely. Like me, my team, we're all set up. basically with all of these tools and information to help you do what you want to do in the safest way possible, right? Which is buy or sell your home. And my agents on my team are like that too, right? Like for me, communication is the most important thing over anything. Because if you're not communicating correctly to your client, I tell them a lot of the times, like, we're facilitators, we're not miracle workers, but we will work our hardest to make whatever you want to happen, also in the safest way possible, right? And so like we'll tell you, hey, listen, we talked to the listing agent, this was the call, this is what's going to make it happen. If you want to put the offer in, put the offer in. If you don't, that's fine. But I don't know, I think we're just a little different, and it's kind of nice that way. I like it.
Yeah. I want to get into, because people are like, I know you from TikTok, a lot of people that I know, hey, did you see Kina on TikTok? And I think that's you're probably I think the person or agent that I know is most relevant in that platform. As far as I know.
So kind of you, because
Yeah.
there's so many other agents who have so many more followers than I do, but probably not the sales that I have. Right? Because we're really different.
And I think that's a very good point too, just because TikTok as a platform, you don't have to have followers for reach, correct?
I don't necessarily try to get reach. I'm not trying to be famous. If you look at our Instagram, like I don't really post photos of myself on my personal or my real estate one. I actually just did an analysis and we're like, we need to post more photos of Kina because there's none. We really just talk about, so one thing I will say about the authenticity aspect that you mentioned is that in the beginning, if you scroll down on my Instagram, you'll see like I was trying to be like all the other agents out there and like follow their vibe, follow what they thought was good. And then slowly over time, I was like, I should look up their sales. And then you kind of see like, oh, this person they don't have that many sales. Like, why am I copying this person? Also, why am I copying anybody? Because I see a lot of people who will like copy exactly what I'm doing. And I'm like, I love the compliment, but I'm just going to tell you like what works for me isn't going to work for you. And what works for you isn't going to work with me. It wasn't until I was just like, I'm just going to be whatever I want to be. And whoever wants to work with me can work with me. That's when it started like working, you know, being famous, people who want to be famous, you can see that on their social media, right? Like my goal isn't to be famous. My goal is to retire early, right? So absolutely. And do it with all of the people that I, love and care about, and like have a great time here now, always. And a great time for me is honestly just having dinner with friends. I'm pretty low key, right? But that's not like, that's kind of just, you can get that vibe from the social media. You can tell I'm not trying to be like a famous agent or kind of like show how cool I am or things like that. Really what we focus on is highlighting how amazing our clients are. Because when people see that, they're like, oh, that's so cool. I want to be like that person. And like, when I have buyers call me, they're like, wow, that home you sold for the buyers, Andrea and Jimmy, that is the coolest home I've seen. That's exactly what I want. And I'm like, now people think that they're like the pinnacle, right? And I'm just the facilitator to help make that happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a really, really good point. I think this business is always best when you focus on the relationships and on just serving your clients as opposed to yourself. And like you said, I think it shows, right? You can see someone who's in business versus somebody who wants to be like an influencer primarily, or whatever their motivation is, Yeah.
So
that's really interesting.
Being an influencer, I've got a couple of buddies. One guy, he's got like 1 million followers, plus 1 million plus on TikTok. He built a business out of that, but and he's done huge transactions, but it's totally different than my business, where I'm just only focused on moving leads through a system, and those leads become buyers or sellers. Those buyers and sellers become friends, and it's a great environment where different people get to meet each other, and then they become friends. That's kind of a nice little group.
Yeah. And what kind of number of leads or percentage of business do you think comes from your social media or TikTok type of click funnels or influence that you're building?
Yeah. So, okay. So TikTok, Instagram, not really Facebook, some from Facebook, but not really, not like the majority at all. I would say like at least 75%.
Wow.
Keep in mind, this is my second year as an agent.
Wow.
And then the rest would be like referrals and SOI. So I'm from Orange County. I've been in Orange County my entire life, elementary, high school, college. And so I have a network here, which is helpful. I am 26. My friends aren't all buying yet. Some of them are, but for the most part, they're just starting to. But they're all like curious, right? Like they're all like paying attention and like starting to get ready to buy. So that's been interesting to see. And then, yeah, social media, a lot of it's through social media.
Yeah. You're someone like talking to you. I think we always talk in real estate. Oh, we got to wear the agent hat. We got to wear the entrepreneur hat, and we got to wear the consumer hat. When I talk to you, I feel like you're like super entrepreneur because you know how to delegate, you know how to build a team. And so at what point, I think you said something like 25 or 30 million by yourself as a solo agent, and then you started building out the team. What does that look like?
Yeah. So last year we did 54 transactions, 35 million in sales. And I want to say about 30 million of that was my own personal sales. 5 of that was some of my newer team members. And then about 10 of those transactions were my newer team members. So I started referring out some of my deals. Sorry. And then when I say refer out, so we're a very friendly type of a team. Okay. So when I refer out a lead, I actually don't even call it like a lead. I call it like a warm, like a client basically. Because I take in a lot of calls, and also we're changing our systems all the time, but basically it's like I am too busy so to like give somebody my full undivided attention. So what I'll do is I'll partner with one of my team members, and they will take the lead on that buyer, or they'll take the lead on the buyer, and then I'll still be like in the group chats, like answering questions, helping people navigate, getting that strategy together for putting in a strong offer and actually being able to open an escrow on a home. But no, you're totally right. So because I have that tech background, like the startups, tech, scalable business focused background, I don't really treat real estate like it's a mom and pop shop. Yeah, we do have mom and pop shop vibes, but like we use all of the same tools that I used at my startup companies that I worked for. And I had my own startup before too, but it was a little different. Like we had products that were being manufactured in China, and then we used Amazon fulfillment to ship them out. But it's the same thing, right? Like you build a website, you get people to sign up, you put them through a funnel, you educate them, you give them something before you expect anything. You know, you treat them the best way anybody would want to be treated. And you just try to figure out how to scale a million different touch points with somebody. It's a lot.
Yeah. So what are you working on these days? What's kind of now I think someone listening is like, how is she able to scale that fast in less than 2 years of being in the business? I'm sure they're going to ask. So make sure you guys follow Kina. At the end of the podcast, we'll share how to find or where to find more about Kina, obviously. But what's kind of, you're always cooking up things and you're always working on things. What's kind of the big plan? You said you had mentioned also like this year already 43% growth, 74% growth, 250% growth year over year. So these are like unheard of numbers at your scale, right? So
yeah, we've so one for the last 3 months I've focused on hiring the right people. That was my biggest mistake from last year, was not being diligent about hiring or firing. You know, like it's really important to find people who fit your culture, because real estate agents, there's so many different types of real estate agents, so many different types, and we're different. And so, and everybody's different, right, in their own way, but like, it doesn't work if everyone's not on the same page, and everyone doesn't treat the clients the same way that we want the clients to be treated. So hiring has been our big focus. We have 4 agents plus me, plus my assistant, plus social media, plus a videographer. And so finding the right people to like kind of create the machine and make the machine work is really hard, incredibly difficult, like the hardest thing out of anything. Because we have our processes in place. So it's really about fine tuning that now and making sure that there's enough fuel for the machine, right? Like our content, like there's a million different pieces, right? So it's like, how do you build it all together? And I guess the answer is just slowly over time, right? When something doesn't work, you have to figure out how to make it better. Or when something works, but it takes too much time, then okay, what do you do to fix it? I like technology. I don't like overcomplicating anything. And so that's always like my focus. How do we keep it easier? I think that's also why we're just starting to do mailers now, because I don't necessarily like the idea of it, right? Like putting papers together and like people trying to pitch yourself to people. That's not my favorite thing. I would rather be like, this is what we offer. If you would like to work with us, give us a call. And we will, treat you to the highest extent possible. But yeah, we get a lot of like an incredible number of referrals.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain a little bit, maybe, or expand a bit on some, at least from the last year, kind of some of the lessons you learned about the type of people you want to have in your group or in your organization, and what maybe you would have done differently? I mean, you're only about a year and a half into your business, so I know you don't have a huge amount of hindsight just because you're in the middle of it, but I'd be curious kind of what you do differently, maybe looking back, if there's things you might have implemented earlier on, or maybe not at all. And then maybe just if you could tell us a little bit about what kind of personality or skill sets you found have worked well for you in your group and when you hire.
So it might be different for everyone.
Sure.
And it's not to say that the people who don't work with us anymore aren't awesome, because they're all doing different things, or moved out of state, or did whatever. And that's great. Like, but just for our team, like if I'm constantly sitting here, like, what do I need to do to help this person get it? If I'm just thinking about that all the time, constantly, day and night, like, why aren't they getting it? Why didn't they follow up with this person? Why aren't they interested in these buyers? Why don't they want these leads that, they're getting a 50-50 split on? And it's like, here's a client, just show them homes. Like, you don't even have to convince them to work with you, right? They're already excited to work with you. Like, you just need to show them homes and I will help you get the offer accepted. Like, what can I do to motivate this person? Then
Sure.
It's too late. Right. And I did that so much for the past year that I'm like, oh no, that's wrong. I should put my time and focus into other people who are really interested and are working really hard and are really focused, and I'm getting really good feedback from the clients about them. That's super important, right? Because we probably are more full service. Like we do a lot for our clients, right? Like we're constantly sending them comps. We're in these texts with them all the time. We're really, really hands-on. We're, going to the open houses with them. We are working our butts off to get offers accepted. Our average buyer is putting in 1.71 offers before they get an offer accepted. And so there's a lot of work that goes into making that number that low.
Sure.
Right.
Wow.
It's being smart with what you're going to do. So yeah, I think if I'm constantly thinking why isn't this working? Then it's not working.
No, and I love that that number, by the way, because I think for one thing, agents in general aren't good at tracking like their numbers at all. And the fact that you're like, no, I know that I'm shooting at about 1.7 or a little less than 2
Yeah.
for your acceptance is awesome, especially in low inventory situations like we have right now. And that's great.
Oh, totally. And if it's a single family and it's a single family above 1.2, it's going to be about 3 offers. And that's what it's going to take.
That's okay.
Cash, right?
I see.
Like,
I see. Yeah.
That's the situation. That's the market that we're in. And it's best to be prepared, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we put a lot of work into our offers. Like we do little cover pages. We write a really nice long email that if a seller forwards it to if a listing agent forwards it to the seller, that seller is going to be like, this is the best agent, 100%. And
Right.
it's going to complement the listing agent so that the listing agent is interested in forwarding it to their seller, right? Like we do a buyer letter, even if, they're like, we always ask, can we send a buyer letter? If you don't want it, we'll take it out. Cool. No problem. But at least the listing agent knows where the buyer is really emotionally connected to that house, right?
Sure.
We package the offer in one PDF. Like this isn't even like secret stuff, right? But it's actually happened twice now where a seller has picked us because of our cover sheet. They're like, this is the only one that did a cover sheet. We choose them. And I'm like, all right, sounds better than a counter offer. So it happens. Yeah.
It's amazing to hear because like when I'm out there meeting with agents, because Cole and I meet with a lot of agents, they're like, oh, it's hard to get my offer accepted. Oh, it's like I submitted 7 different places and didn't get it accepted. And then it's really refreshing to see you knowing your numbers and how dialed in you are, right?
We have to be, right? Because like you can't process helping 5 to 8 buyers get their offers accepted every month if you don't know how to do it right. The most I can pretty much do for myself is like 4 buyers a month physically. Like the capacity, it's hard, right? Because these buyers need a lot of attention.
Sure.
And you can tell like we baby our buyers, right? Like we're like, yes, let's talk on the phone. Let me walk you through this. Even though I already gave you the information, I'm happy to talk about it and explain it to you. So that's why it's really important that we communicate everything perfectly upfront. Like I don't go over the RPA with anybody. I send them a YouTube video. Like, watch this. If you have questions, then let's talk. Because if I went through the RPA last year for 54 times or even more than that for the number of buyers, like that's an entire week of my life. Think about it, 54 hours.
Yeah.
If it only takes an hour, like that's a week to 2 weeks of my actual life that I just got back with this YouTube video.
Well,
Right.
that's assuming no questions either, right? At 55.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's huge. I think what you just uncovered there was the time hack, because you're so good at time hack. When I'm around you, you're like this, that, and there's so much time hack going on. And I think you're someone who really identified how to maximize your time and the effort in terms of what you're providing to your buyers. Right?
Yeah, I think people underestimate how much time they have. I underestimate how much time I have. Also, so I know time is so finite, but the more time I have, the more sales we'll do. By far, like the more time that I have to just sit and do nothing, well, I'll obviously figure something else out to do. I have like, my problem is actually the issue that I have the most is like, I have so many ideas and thoughts of opportunities that we have, and I want to take them, but I'm like, okay, how do I order these? Right? Like, do you know like the term ordering? Like what order do they belong in? That's like something that I used to do as a project manager when I was helping a product project manager, like figuring out, okay, what are the top features that this app should have, right? Let me order them in the level of importance. What's going to have the most impact on how many users we have or how many people get through the funnel. And so that's kind of like the same thing that I feel in real estate constantly.
Yeah. What would you say your superpower is, Kina?
Honestly, so cheesy. And my husband would tell you the same thing. He's like, you can put yourself in somebody else's shoes and like feel what they're feeling, right? Like if a buyer says something to me, then I try my best to really understand and decipher what they're meaning or like what information they need to hear to fully understand what I'm trying to communicate to them. And so it helps me communicate to them better. Real estate is mostly just communication, right? And so if you can communicate to your buyer or to anybody in life and show them that you care, then that's all that matters. Like it's very evident that we care on our team.
Yeah.
Everybody really cares. We're all also like, obviously we're in it for, this is a job, we're trying to get paid, but we're not, you know, like how some real estate agents are like in it for the money, right? Like my TC called me today and was like, Kina, this escrow company just reached out to me because you're not telling them where to send your check. It closed 6 months ago. And I'm like, it's fine. They'll get it to me. I'll get to that email. And she's like, yeah, but they're like, they want to get rid of it from their inbox. And I'm like, fine, here, you know, like, I know it's going to come. It's not like it's going anywhere. Yeah. But then it does create accounting issues for me, which is something that I have to deal with.
Well, like, that's important. You did make an important point though. The people that last in this business, I think the number one skill agents who intend to be around for a while need to have is empathy, right? Like that's the number one thing you have to have if you're this is always going to be a people business no matter what. And yeah, like money comes, like success comes if you work hard no matter what it is. But if you're not in it to help and support the people that hire you, you're not going to last. It's a quick business, you know?
I totally agree. My last company I worked for, the one before actually, they had me take a personality test and I scored a 98% for competitiveness and a 99% for empathy. And those were like the two things they were like, this doesn't go together, but it works. So I am really competitive. I'm like, you should accept my offer, please. But it works out.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, that's the profile actually that we see common is the competitive person with great empathy is usually the best entrepreneurs out there. So
there you go.
Yeah.
That's awesome. With like an addiction to working hard.
Exactly.
So some of the things I heard, you said, you know, the time hacks, making it better, making it easier. And so I think people can totally see what's transpiring with your business. What's like a next big goal for you now?
So last year I worked like every single day except for maybe like 3 days. I would like every year for me to be working a little bit less, but making more money. Right. So like the bottom line's a little bit better, but I'm taking like half a day off a week. Right now I'm taking half a day off a week consistently. And sometimes like there were 2 weekends where I didn't have showings on Saturdays this year. So that was nice. But then of course I'm like, for me, my goal this year, I'd like to build my listing business because we have such a huge influx of buyers. I haven't focused on marketing what we do for our sellers. You know, we've had really great luck working with you guys. You know, on sellers who are buyers, bellers, right? Where they're looking for their next home. Loved doing our transaction with you guys last year. That was my favorite. And even Kelly, the seller buyer, they love you guys too. So it's nice, right? Those are the kind of transactions and sales that I love. Great people, great agents, you know. I'm really happy with like where we're at right now. I love our team. We've got our little office. We're just trying to grow. I really want to grow the 4 agents on our team this year to start being producers so that they can handle and manage these leads. And, you know, it's not just handing leads off. It's also making sure that the agent is treating them the way that our standards are. It's making sure that the agent is making intelligent moves and they're very educated on what to expect, right? Instead of just being like, handle this escrow and then figure it out. Tell me if you have questions. You know, we want to do the training and give the expertise as much as possible in advance. So I would love to hit, I think we're on track to hit 50 million of sales this year. That would be fantastic. But really, like, the sales happen, right, when you get the team, everything else correct. So everything's really just about the team. That's all that matters, the training and getting those offers accepted and getting those listings ready.
Yeah, that's really awesome. Really awesome. Let's see. We're gonna go into a couple of the closing. Thanks so much for joining us today. There's so much in there, and I think if the audience can see how dialed in you are in such a short amount of time, because a lot of what I see, a lot of Gen Z millennial is like the speed. I want to accomplish all this in this amount of time, right? So I think you're someone that's, I believe, already done that, over and over again. So it's tremendous to see that.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah. What are some books you would recommend now?
Okay, so because of my background in tech and startups, I've read a lot of different like startup and tech related books, right? Like venture capitalists, they have a lot of books. My favorite one is The Hard Thing About Hard Things. That's written by Ben Horowitz. So Andreessen Horowitz, they're a huge venture firm, a huge VC fund, and they're actually like known as like a prolific group of investors. And so in their book, they of course go through, okay, like what are the problems that founders are having, right? What's difficult? How do they assess those issues? What is the right, like the mindset to be in, I think I have a really specific, I've been really lucky to have a mindset that enables scalability because of my background, right? Like I'm not trying to get like every dollar out of every transaction. I'm just trying to do the most I can because it's really about like people, right? How many people can I help? And I think that book really, it does a couple of things really well. It explains the mindset you should be in, and a lot of startup books do, but the mindset and also kind of like how to be a good person too. Something that they said that was really great in the book that has stuck with me as like one of the most important things that I've ever read was, the best kind of friend, the best board member, sorry, I kind of ruined it. The best board member is, the person that if there's an issue, that's the board member you want to call and be like, hey, got this issue. And they're like, I'm furious about this. Let me help you fix it. And then the other kind of best board member is the person who's like, hey, like you call them, you're like, hey, something great happened to me. And they're like, hell yeah, I'm excited for you. Like, let's do a victory lap. I'm more happy about this than you are probably. Like, let's celebrate the wins. And so they were like, on the flip side, that's also the best friend you can be, is to be the both of those things. Like the best person or friend or confident that you can be is the person who's the most excited about your victories and also the most furious about the negative things that happen in life. And that's kind of how I like to live my life. Like my friends are always calling me with their problems. And if something good happens, I'm the first one who's like, reason to go out to dinner, let's celebrate, Yeah. But I think it's the same thing. Like it might not be the same thing when you're dealing with clients because you don't want to be the most angry person, but being a problem solver is very important. But yeah, that's my book.
Yeah, that's awesome. So Kina, where can our audience find you? What's the best way to reach out to you? Maybe if they think they're a super A player and they resonate with what you say, they can maybe join your team too. So there's a lot of options there.
Yes, we're always looking for great people. Okay, so Instagram is where most people reach out to me. You can DM me on Instagram. It's at Realtor Kina. And someone will get back to you on my team and then we will chat. It's actually very easy to get a hold of me because my phone number is all over the internet. And I have all these calendar links out there and people just schedule time on my calendar. And I'm like, I guess I need to be on this call with somebody right now. but Instagram is the best.
Yeah. And check out Instagram also where I, saw and follow Kina on TikTok. There's a lot of places on internet you can follow her. So Cole, any last words before we go?
No, I mean, I could hang with you all day for sure. I think I think you gave us a lot of really cool information about, it's interesting it's rare for an agent to not only have the kind of the immediate success that you've had, but then to also, growing a team in and of itself is a completely separate ball of wax. And it's something that a lot of people stumble with because they don't know the proper way to hire people, to find people, or to find people that fit with their culture. So I think the fact that, I mean, a lot of it you're very fortunate that you have the right background for that kind of mindset. But honestly, like, I hope you appreciate not only the success you've had in your sales, but also the success you've had in your team. Cause I mean, I've met your team and they're like the almost awesome group of people ever.
Yes,
I love my team.
Seriously. Yeah.
We're really
like
lucky.
all of them. Yeah, you really are. And I think that's really, it's not this, you're lucky. I think it's 100% what you've put into it. And I think I'm just thrilled that things are going so well for you. I guess, one more thing I want to know is just what's your plan going forward here? Like, just as the market's changing and everything else, or you just, obviously you're digging deeper into the listing side of things. What do you think is going to be the main trait that's going to carry you guys through now as the market corrects?
So I would actually love to see a market correction, because we work with mostly buyers, right?
Yeah.
Like in the situation where it becomes a buyer's market, we kill it. Right? Because we're like, oh, finally, like our chance. Because we've got hundreds of them signed up, like on our team or on our Real Scout account or something, like, any of our systems. But honestly, like, I think here's the thing. So I looked at the number of transactional data over the last years, right? And even though it looks like, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think I read that there were the same amount of transactions that are happening, but of course the price point is different. So the volume is different, right? So it's not that there's so many transactions because the market's on fire, but even in the case that the market slowed down and it really took a dive, I think for us, like, the way for us to be prepared is to have a rounded business, right? Yep. Where we're doing listings and buyers, where we are still never sacrificing on quality for the bottom line, where we will always treat the people that we work with to the highest level that we can, so that, when it comes time for referrals or for anything else, like, we're here for that. We help a lot of buyers, right? Like, even in other states, we help them find realtors over there too. So it's just keeping those systems in place, and honestly, it's being prepared. I'm a little interested to see what happens.
Yeah, no, I think that's the perfect way to approach it. Actually, that's great.
Yeah, that's a great advice for the audience.
Yep.
Yeah. So, Kina, thank you so much for your time today. I know you're super busy. You probably got 20, 50 text messages and phone calls piling up on your phone. But thank you so much for your time. Those of you guys on Real Estate Success Podcast, Kina just threw out tons of gold and nuggets that you can apply for your business. And as always, you guys level up every day. Okay. Bye now.
Bye, Tommy. Bye, Cole.
Bye. Bye, Kina.
Thank you.